Welcome to the Open to Hope Show. I'm your host, Dr. Heidi Horsley, and I'm here today with my guest, Dr. Sweta Vikram. Hi, Sweta.
Hi, Heidi. It's nice to be here.
It's great to have you here, and I love our topic today. It is managing expectations and anger in grief. Yes, and Sweta knows a lot about this, and we're going to talk to her from a personal standpoint and a professional standpoint. And let me introduce her first. Dr. Sweta Vikram lost her father and father-in-law within 2 days of each other, and her mother 9 years earlier. She is an international speaker and the best-selling author of 14 books. Sweta's latest book is The Loss That Binds Us, 108 Tips on Coping with Grief and Loss. She was voted as one of the most influential Asians of our time and the winner of the Voice of the Year award. Welcome, Sweta.
Thank you for having me, Heidi, and for the work that you do. These conversations are so necessary because grief can be so isolating and you feel like everything is happening to me, part of which is true. And then we realize like we have this inner voice, self-criticism, judgment. Speaking of anger, like, is it just me? Like everyone else seems to have this stuff under control. So the space that you hold, the conversations that you have, I think they really contribute to healing in the world.
Thank you, Sweta. I love that, and I really like this topic today. Before we start and get into this topic, I have always been curious about this, and I've never asked you. You were the winner of the Voice of the Year award. What exactly is that? I love that, the name of that.
This is an award which Chelsea Clinton has won in the past.
Wow.
And it was for my book, The Louisiana Catch, which is a psychological thriller, but it's also a novel about multiple cultures. And the female protagonist is actually a sexual assault survivor.
Wow.
And is grieving her mother. And then she ends up organizing this really big conference. So it's about empowering women and just knowing strength looks different in different people.
Yes.
So this is what the award was about empowering women, the voice that I gave, and the book.
Well, thank you for bringing up that voice out into the world, and it's similar to what we're talking about today, because I'm sure these managing expectations and anger and grief was probably woven in a lot to this character, and I'm wondering why this topic resonated with you, because I got a hold of you and said, Sweta, and I don't usually do this, but I said, you've got all this experience, lived in professional, what should we call the shows? And you said, let's do a show on this. So why did you choose this topic?
It's because, and you'll know this better than I do, in a clinical, from a Western medicine, mental health perspective, there are these X stages of grief, right? But when it all came about, it was for this subgroup of people who suffering from a certain disease, right? So so people just think, oh, we'll take these X number of stages, we'll apply it to life. Today I'm in anger, tomorrow I'm in denial. Fine, I'll move on. And this is the idea that people have. Or those who are around you and don't really understand grief don't realize it's not linear.
Exactly.
And you could be stuck in a stage for very, very long time and then take 2 steps forward and be back there again for a very long time. So the reason I wanted to address anger, because we've been told anger is a bad emotion.
Yes.
And Ayurveda and yoga will tell you no emotion is bad. Sure, anger is bad if you're hurting someone, if you're hurting yourself. But anger is mostly a voice which has been suppressed. It's a story that needs to be told, right?
I like that.
Right, so why do we have like these labels of it's a bad? Do we ever say, oh, you're too happy, right? But you're excessively angry. No, it's a person who's not, I attended Dr. Gabor Mate's talk.
Oh, I love him.
He's incredible, and he spoke in Harlem in the month of May, and I went to his talk, and one of the things he said was, trauma begins when we feel invisible.
Interesting. Trauma begins when we feel invisible. I really like that.
Right, and I think that's when anger also begins. It's like someone just saying, hear me out. Or they're being put into positions that they're uncomfortable with, but they cannot speak up because of a myriad of reasons.
Well, it's interesting to me because I worked with 9/11 families in the fire department for 10 years, and I worked with widows and children, but the siblings that had lost brothers and sisters or brothers in the trade center, because it was firefighters, were not getting any help. And so on year 5, I was able to work with them.
Right.
And I went in and they were very angry. And I validated that because they had been overlooked for 5 years. So, you know, we spent a lot of time, I spent a lot of time listening and having them talk about it and exploring that anger.
That's beautiful. And so necessary. Because, you know, sometimes it's just anger, like any emotion needs an outlet.
Yeah.
But we've just been told it's wrong, it's bad. It's not really. And it's just an emotion. And I feel like anger also changes shapes and forms in the grieving process. At the start, it could be, why did this happen to me? Then it's like, why did it happen to my family? Or why did my XYZ, why did I lose them? Then it could be, oh, so-and-so is alive, mine is gone. Or their family looks full at the Christmas or any holiday dinner, mine doesn't. There could be anger about that. But then you could also be angry at the one who's passed away. It's like, like, do you not see how much I'm suffering? How could you leave me alone? So when people say anger, they're like, they shut down thinking, oh my God, anger means, oh, they're going to just hurt someone. No.
And then it's a negative emotion.
It becomes a negative emotion.
It's interesting because I thought it was a negative emotion when my brother died. Like, I can't, my brother and my cousin died. My cousin was driving. They were both 17. And they both died together. And for years, I didn't have any anger because I was like, they died. They didn't mean to die. It was an accident. But I did art therapy. And I got into like collage. And what happened in the art therapy was, and I didn't even know it was going to happen, I had repressed anger at my cousin who was driving that I felt I didn't have the right to have because he had died.
Ah, that's complicated.
It was very complicated. So I was able to, with this art therapist, to explore that anger that I had that was in there, but I didn't recognize it. I didn't allow it to surface.
And how tragic is that? Loss is tragic enough, and then not being able to really feel your feelings.
Yeah.
And I think anger can be so corrosive if we don't give it an outlet, if we don't let it express itself, if we don't explore what it's about. I remember, like, and I've heard so many people shun anger. So even I used like that self-critical voice of, am I being angry? So what? People don't tell me why you're so happy. How are you so happy is what they ask me. So why are we judging the anger? But it's so important to sit with the anger because, as like I was saying earlier, our anger changes about that particular situation and loss. But also when you compare two different losses, like you mentioned, you know, your brother, your cousin, your father, anger would have taken a different shape or form every time that when you went through loss. But we've been told not to approach it. I know when my book, Sorries and a Single Malt, came out, and someone read it and was like, I'm really worried, you know. I sensed a lot of anger in that book. I said, my mother was healthy in her early 60s. I was in my 30s. And she suddenly died.
Right.
Life as I know it will never be the same. How do you expect me to not be angry?
Right. And you were young, losing your mother. You thought she was going to be around another 20 plus years.
Exactly. You know, all these important milestones in life, my parents were not there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, milestone birthdays, milestone, like I became an Ayurvedic doctor, I started teaching at a college. They were not there for anything.
Right.
And I am so tired when people tell me, oh, you know, you should talk, you can still talk to them, they exist. I'm like, can we swap?
That's the interesting part because, you know, the continuing bonds is a wonderful concept and I have it with my brother and my father, but it took me a while to accept that that was going to be our relationship. Right. You know, I wanted, you know, someone said, well, you can have a relationship with Scott. And I said, yes, but I want him physically in the room. I don't want to have this continuing bond. I want him here. So it took me, I was like, okay, I have to do plan B, but it's not, you know, initially I think that really serves to minimize sometimes when people say, well, you still can have them here, when you're still trying to wrap your arms around the fact that they're physically never going to be here again.
And oftentimes that wisdom comes from people who have not experienced that loss.
Yeah.
And I often say this, you know, silence is a big form of support. Or asking people what they need instead of suggesting what they need or what they need to do. Because until you've walked in someone's shoes, you really don't know their grief journey. And I think when we talk about anger, I think this is what I really want to talk about. People just think angry means sitting in a corner and punching something. No, it's these little things which might feel trivial to someone. Like there are days, yes, I talk to my dad, like my home office, my parents' pictures are there and there's an altar, I light a candle and all that. But there are days I'm like, guys, I just need you to be in the room with me, have a conversation. And when someone tells me they are there, I'm like, your parents are still alive. Like, who are you to tell me that? I'm very happy for you. So the anger is that lack of understanding. I'm not angry why your parents are alive, but I'm angry at your lack of understanding. And I don't expect you to get it because you've not suffered that loss and may you not have to suffer it for a long time. So sometimes it's that. But I feel like my anger was also very different from when I compare my mom and my dad when they passed away. With mom, it was because of the suddenness. It was more about how could she die? Like, how could she not wait for me? And what happens to Papa? And what about my brother and I and all that? With Dad, I had accepted all of this was happening. The anger was of people who ghosted us.
So people disappeared?
People disappeared.
Okay.
Some people who were very close to my parents, they just disappeared.
Wow.
And some friends. There were so many people who were, and then over a period of time, I was angry at myself. It took me a year to be angry at myself. To say, you're giving so much time and energy to people who are not there.
Yeah.
And you're ignoring who are there. And that anger is of how grief can be so tricky, where it forces you to focus on what gives you nothing. So again, reminding people like anger is just normal and natural. Having lost both my parents like this and my father-in-law, I know life can be taken away anyway. I don't live in that anxiety, but I know life is a gift, so we need to, cherish it. But I also know it can be taken away suddenly. Yet, with all my practices in place, so much of my energy and anger went into people who hurt us, versus I was grateful for that. I still am grateful for the people who've been there, but I could have just used that energy. So that anger was that. How did I not know how to manage that?
Yeah.
Right? So again, anger shows up in different ways.
So how did you manage the anger? What did you do?
I think I just had to accept this time around that I have no control over anything.
Yeah.
You cannot force people to love you. You cannot force people, going back to Dr. Gabor Mate, my trauma got triggered when they made me feel invisible. I pride myself on seeing everybody to the extent that I can, even an unhoused person. The other day I was going to my weight training studio and this unhoused person was sitting and he said to me, your hair looks great. And I turned to him, I said, why, thank you, sir. And so he was like, you saw me.
Oh.
I was like, of course, why wouldn't I? He said, you made my day. And I said, you saw me, you made my day. So it's that important to me. It's like my life philosophy, my mantra of, to the extent possible, make people feel visible.
Yeah.
When you're grieving and someone ghosts you, so you're multiple disappearances. It's the grief of the ones you've actually lost who've died, and then the grief of relationships past, which you didn't think would be in the past.
Right. You lose friends.
You lose friends, you lose family.
And then sometimes you gain new friends, and often they've had losses.
Yes, and I think I had to go through it.
Yeah.
To accept it. Because it's so easy, especially when you've lost both your parents, you're looking at everything familiar to ground you.
Yeah.
This one I've known them X number of years. This one they were in my parents' house. Life has no guarantees. I've lost both my parents. Shouldn't I know that cerebrally? But I didn't.
Yeah. So what are some things that people can do? I know you have so many tips and tools in your book. What are some things that people can do to help work the anger through their bodies?
Go for walks.
Okay.
Movement, so necessary, releases stress hormones, but also will hold space for happy hormones, right?
Like
also like gentle stretches, yoga on the mat, nothing too crazy, even on the chair. Even so when we do these twists, because you talked about gallbladder, liver in yoga and Ayurveda is supposed to be the anger organ.
Oh, I didn't know this.
So when you do these twists, you're basically doing you're twisting out, you're rinsing out and rinsing out the anger too.
Wow, I didn't know that the liver.
Yeah, so liver is that organ of anger.
That's
and gallbladder is supposed to be jealousy, insecurity, all of that. So and they're neighbors.
Yeah.
So simple movement. Yeah, you don't have to do anything fancy. Even gentle stretches with your neck, your head.
I hold a lot of stress on my neck.
Right, and so people tend to carry grief here, or even when you hear like simple heart openers, lungs, room to grief. A lot of people, my immunity has really gone down after my dad's death. Like I have to be super careful with the weather change, or I get a cold and a cough.
How do you open up your heart?
So something as simple as cat-cow on the chair, and then it's almost like your belly button is touching the spine. Again, inhale, your head is tilted back, big broad chest. It's like opening up to possibilities and the love that still exists. And exhale, connecting with yourself. So when you exhale, it's almost like your spine is here.
Yeah.
Something as simple as that.
I like that, and I can already feel it. It was interesting because after my father died, I started doing, restorative yoga, which for those of you that don't know what it is, it's just putting yourself in different, postures. And I went to a class. When they did heart openers, I would start to cry. I didn't realize that we're like this when we're grieving. We're all hunched in, and this was opening up my heart.
Right. And it has to be done the right way, because too much release on one day can also do you more harm than good.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So just being gentle with yourself. You've gone through this life-altering incident. Nothing will ever be the same. You will never be the same. Accept it. So but that walk is also space from other people. I like having that space. It's great to have community, but you also have to have that time for self. So going for solo walks, not listening to anything, just connecting with nature, because that becomes meditation. Just looking at the birds and the squirrels and whatever, New York City rats, whatever have you, just disconnected from the rest of the world intentionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is very necessary, because especially when you're grieving, people are constantly messaging. And I know most people want to help, but this is where when someone asks me, I always say, have a yoga practice, because you learn to leave ego out the door. When you want to help, it's about you. Ask what someone needs. The minute you start telling someone, unless, you work in mental health, that's your job, right? But otherwise, as a friend or a family member or a colleague, ask what they need.
Well, I love that you're saying ask what they need, because I cannot tell you the amount of phone calls I get from friends calling me, or other family members calling me and saying, my friend just lost her parent and I want her to get into therapy. So, I just thought I would call you to see if you have any availability. And I'm like, what does your friend want?
Exactly.
Because maybe they right now don't want to be in therapy. I mean, people will just all of a sudden call me and ask me if I'm available for other people.
Right. Right. And that's not everybody's path.
Right.
And there's a time for everything.
Yeah. Oftentimes it's when the loss has just happened also.
Right.
And sometimes people aren't ready. Yeah. They need a minute. They need to process what has happened.
Right. And there are, depending on what the loss represents, like, the financial stuff that needs to be taken care of. There could be home stuff, logistical stuff. All of that needs to be taken care of. Telling someone, you need to do this, that's not gentle language. Make it invitational.
I like that.
Like, how are you taking care? Can I help? If you need a buddy to go for a walk, I am there. Instead of saying, you've gained 30 pounds, this is not good. Your mother wouldn't have liked it.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing people say with your mother wouldn't have liked it, they'd say, your brother that died, my brother Scott wouldn't have wanted you to be sad. Scott wouldn't want you to be grieving. Scott would want you to be enjoying your life. And intellectually, I know that. But sometimes our hearts take a while to catch up with our heads. I mean, I know what he would want, but we have to validate, acknowledge, and experience that pain before we can get into that space.
I couldn't agree more. And it's, when we go through grief, people don't get it until they've lost a loved one. Like, grief is forever changing its form. Sometimes it could be like, I don't know about you, I've been angry, like, why did you have to be there? Why did you have to go on that vacation? Few times. Most often the grief shows up as something else. So when you try to tell someone, oh, this is what they would have wanted, you're also trying to tell me like you didn't know Scott.
Right.
Like I didn't know my dad, or I didn't know my mom. We are all trying to cope and survive. We are all trying to do our best. Give me some credit, give you some credit.
Right.
You do this for a living. I do this for a living. If we were reckless with our own lives, we couldn't be helping others. But we all have a moment. There's a sister in you who misses her brother. period. Nothing anyone can say can make you feel better. There are
Right.
rooms where I miss seeing my dad's face or my mom's face. You know, when people talk about family recipes, and I'm like, I'm losing the taste of her cooking.
Yeah.
And I should be allowed, whether mom likes it or not, I don't care. This is what I need
Yeah.
right now
Yeah.
to be able to, you know, hold space for my grief. Why am I denying it? And it's a privilege to love and to have loved.
I like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, you talk about the fact that expectations, we've talked about anger and we've talked a little bit about expectations, but let's go back to the expectations. Tell me more about why you thought that was important to talk about expectations. It sounds like people had expectations for you, or maybe you had expectations for yourself. I don't know which.
I think it was
Maybe
mostly
both.
me. I had
Okay.
expectations of people.
Oh, you had expectations of other
Yes,
people
yes.
that they would show up for you in a certain way.
In a certain way.
And they didn't, so they let you down.
Yeah.
Yes, I felt the same way, especially when my brother died. But you know, it used to be, find Heidi, you'll find the party. I was fun, light, etc. When my brother died, it was a huge existential crisis for me. And
course.
after about 2 weeks, people said, we want the old Heidi back. Like, we want the fun Heidi back. And I said, that person, I've got to create a new identity now, a new normal. I'm trying to figure out who I am without Scott.
Right.
You know, I can't be the other person that I used to be. So there were definitely expectations, and I think I did expect everybody to show up in a certain way, and they didn't. I wanted them to show up and help me, support me, and acknowledge and validate what I was going through.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know, because we've been told expectations about those of us who have expectations, we've also done enough for others. So it wasn't
Right.
like it's your turn to return the favor, not at all. It's just human connection. If one person whom you say is a friend or a family is hurting, why wouldn't you want to show up? I think that was managing expectations, but also some people thought they could ghost me or my family and I would still be there.
Right.
So it was their expectation, but that made me realize I have allowed them to have those expectations because this is how I have showed up. No matter what people do, be nice. So now I'm not nice, I'm kind. I've learned the difference.
What is the difference?
To
I
me,
like
kind
this.
is just a good person. Nice
Yeah.
means people pleaser.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
You know, I'll still show up with kindness, and sometimes not engaging with you is kindness, right?
Has anybody shown up later, all of a sudden, that ghosted you, and now they're back?
In
Or
a
no?
different form
Okay.
that I'm not available for, or I've moved on.
Yeah.
And that was the thing, you know, I wrote a lot. For me, I'm like such an external process. I'll write about everything, right? Or talk
So
about
writing
things.
has really, really helped you.
It has. It's cathartic. So I
Yeah.
wrote a lot about relationships and friendships ending. But now I've realized, the last 2 years, things don't end. They just transform.
Yes.
I don't want to be so attached to the form it takes. So I think it's like this is what a modern yogi feels like, you know. I have my bad days. Let's not
Yeah.
kid. If it's 3 days of 113 degrees, you don't step out, things will come back. But the minute it gets better, I'm like, no, at least I'll go to the gym or do some stretching. So my mind is outside of that space, because when you're a griever, it very easily can go back to that space,
Yeah.
which doesn't serve you right. So people have come back, but I realize it's just different now. I don't have expectations. So whatever they do is like, oh, nice. But also I'm not falling for it.
Yeah, I like how you're in your mind, and then if it's too much, you go into your body
Yes.
and start working through the grief physically. Like you say, go to the gym, go for a walk, do yoga.
Very much so. Or cook, or like dance. It's just,
Well,
I have to
I
expel
love
that.
dancing.
Me too. I like to, really expel that energy.
Yeah.
Like literally throw it out, not just move. Because I was like, that's also stagnant energy, which is
Yeah.
not doing me any good.
And I love the idea of cooking since your mother did it.
And it's nourishment. Like we had a family dinner on Sunday, and one of our nephews, he stayed back and he had a flight to catch on Monday morning. And I told him, I've concocted this new recipe. He's like, I don't eat breakfast, but I want to eat your food. So 6:30 in the morning, I cook him breakfast before I hit
I
the
love
gym.
it.
And he ate it. And I was like, my mom would be so proud. But it's also not, I'm not doing it just because, this is how I keep her alive. No, this is where we aligned.
Yeah.
This is where my common ground is. The one thing also I'll say about anger, for new grievers especially, no one's family is flawless.
Right.
Whoever you lose has hurt you at some point, has disappointed you. at first you'll just romanticize them,
Yes.
right? And then eventually you be okay with treating them the way you would treat them when they were around in flesh and blood. There are things that I get disappointed about my parents or,
Yeah.
you know, or my father-in-law. But I also remind myself, just because they were my parents doesn't mean they have to be flawless. They were human beings.
Right.
They were ordinary human beings who did extraordinary things. And I'm okay
like
with
that.
that.
I
right?
love that. Yep.
We just think, oh, just because so-and-so is gone, now I only need to remember the good things. No, that's not real.
It isn't. And what people do it, they elevate them to the status of God. It's like they're perfect when
Right.
it's not a real, that's not being human. Human is complicated.
Yeah. And, you know, even now there might be something which might trigger a memory and I'm like, I'm mad at you for what you did or how you handled that. But because you say it and then you move on.
Right.
I don't hold grudges. Nothing lingers on. You have to hold space for your own thoughts. The critic is self before anybody else.
I love this.
Because we ourselves are like, oh, this is how we need to show up. Who said that?
Right. Okay, this is a great way to end. And if people want to find you, how do they do that?
Okay. So my website, swetavikram.com,
Okay.
www.swetavikram.com.
And the name of your book,
Is
the latest.
The latest book is The Loss That Binds Us. So you can find the book, all the details there. I also have a sleep guide. So go to my website, you'll know how to find me, email me, DM me on social media, and I'll just send it to you. It's filled with rejuvenating Ayurvedic tips because the one thing we all have experienced as grievers is our sleep takes a toll.
Absolutely.
And when your sleep goes out the window, so does your immunity and your
Yeah.
mental health.
Yeah.
So get that free guide, get in touch. Thank you so much for having me, Heidi, and thank you to everyone who tuned in today.
Shweta, it was wonderful. And thank you. And please go to her site and get all these things because, like you said, it is so important to take care of ourselves. The world needs us, and I appreciate everything that you're doing. And you are really honoring your parents and your father-in-law. And you're showing us that it is possible to find hope after loss.
Absolutely, and that's a choice, and it needs work.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Shweta.
Thank you.
So we always end by saying, if you've lost hope, please lean on ours until you find your own, and God bless. Thank you.